Welcome to another edition of Mississippi Stories. I am your host, Marshall Ramsey. We are sharing screen here real quick. All right. Our guest today is the one and only Wyatt Waters, who's got a brand new book out right now, and you can see it up on your screen. It is The Watercolor Road, Painting and Writing Through the America's South. And Wyatt is on the road today, and we're going to click back to his live shot here in just a second, but he is headed toward Laurel, Mississippi, which has become one of the hot spots in America, thanks to Ben and Aaron Napier, who have, we were just talking about that just a second ago, how incredibly the effect has been. It's just become a huge tourist destination, but you are heading down to an event at one of the best museums in the country, in my opinion. I love Lauren Rogers Museum, and I'm just glad that you got a chance to say hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Our book just came out and we're pretty excited about it. But Lauren Rogers, you're right. That's a great museum. The American Watercolor Society show frequently shows there. It's a big show, and it's been a secret for a long time, but now everybody knows about it. Ben and Aaron have certainly opened us up to the world there, and you can see all these different plates in the downtown area on the backs of cars. It's not just people from Hattiesburg going to Laurel anymore. It's
it's almost become
anyway,
like
we're on.
you're on the road. You're not driving. That's rule number one.
I'm not driving. No. My lovely pilot is my wife. Anyway, she's driving, and she makes what they call good time in Mississippi, which means a little bit over the speed limit sometimes.
Yeah, don't worry.
We'll get there. We always get there.
We won't tell anybody that you're going a little bit over the speed limit, but so yeah, and if you're heading down 49, I hope all the traffic lights work in your favor.
They will. Anyway, we're excited to be on the show here. I think this is maybe our first time to announce it after the arrival of the book. It's a book I've been working on for a long time, Marshall. It's been 2.5 years, I think, that I've been working on this. But I'll let it. If you want me to ramble, I will.
Well, I was going to say,
can you hear me?
Yeah, you're kind of cutting in and out a little bit. So, I mean, worst comes to worst, you can turn the video off and it'll make the audio a little bit stronger. So we'll work around that a little bit. You said you've been working on it for a couple of years, and like I said, the beauty of it is literally watching your Facebook page and seeing all the different places that you went on it, and the paintings I was just looking at just a second, and in fact I may share the screen here in just a second and show some of the images from it. But you honestly did cover the whole thing. How did you travel? Did you go to motel, or did you have a trailer, or how did that work?
Well, we had a casita camper. It's a 16-foot camper, and in February, right before the pandemic, we went to extreme northeast Tennessee. And where did we go? Where did we go, Kristi? Johnson City. And we purchased this from a lovely couple, and that has been our residence on a home away from home as we've been traveling on the road. It's got a shower, it's got all the modern conveniences, a bed for both of us, place to eat, and a kitchenette, which is a kitchen where you eat, by the way. It's everything is self-contained. Called it Apollo 19, because it's really a space capsule.
So it's kind of like a Smurfette. Yeah. So so I mean, here's the thing. Kristi's like really awesome, and you guys get along really well. But couldn't that be kind of like scorpions in a bottle, being trapped in a little small space like that, traveling all over the Southeast?
Wow, that is really well put. If you don't get along, you will kill each other. If you do get along, you'll be bonded. So it's just, we'll go one way or the other, but it will not stay the same. And we fortunately took the route of greater bonding. And what she did, she made maps along the way of where we'll go, strategic points. She's a planner and organizer, and was like, hey, turn around, 16, 12-foot tall woman in a bikini. I want to paint that, things like that. I would find things along the way, and she would plan. She would keep us from getting lost, and I would get us lost. That was our relationship.
That works out pretty well. And I mean, like I said, and just being a right brain person myself and married to an incredibly left brain person who is also creative also, but still it's kind of nice to have that calming guidance to help you through that. But like I said, y'all had a plan, you had a strategy, but it was you coming upon different things that interest you and you would stop. And I've seen you, I love watching you paint. I envy you because how quickly you can paint. I mean, it's pretty amazing on, especially with watercolors on that too. So what kind of reaction did you get from people along the way when they saw you, camped out on the side of the highway, painting the picture of their cows or the mountains or whatever?
It was a full spectrum, just like there are people. There are as many different reactions as there are people, and then a few more perhaps. Well, we started the trip off going to Eureka Springs and came upon a guy who was both drunk and high on
That's a good
some
combo.
drug. Yeah, it was a great, and he got quite belligerent, angry at me, and I thought he was going to fight me. But he wanted me to include him in the painting, and I got
Yeah. That's a heck of a way to say please.
the middle of nowhere. And the middle of nowhere is that kind of place where you can see stars
Yeah.
because there aren't lamps, there's no civilization. And people who live out there anyway, they stopped and they would ask us if we were okay, things like that. I mean, and we were in Atlanta, I remember, and I was painting the varsity. And this guy who's kind of a, he was kind of he was kind of a street crazy kind of guy. And don't get me wrong, I'm frequently these are my people. I work with him. He was getting kind of to the point of almost violent, and I was really 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 worried something was going to happen. And then a cop comes up, and I think, thank thank God, finally someone comes up, and I'm not going to get killed. And the cop comes up to me and says, "What are you doing out here painting?" He was worried about me. He wasn't worried about this guy who was yelling pretty crazy things. So you get, I mean, a range of people. You meet people along the way that you don't know, and sometimes you meet people you do know. Someone says, "Is that you, Wyatt?" We were in Sewanee, and some people came up from Jackson. It's the great thing about working on the side of the road is you meet everybody. And one of the difficult things about working on the side of the road is you meet everybody. You have
Yeah.
to kind of, concentrate on what you're doing, but still remain gracious.
Definitely on that. So, you like you said, you went to varsity, and I hope you got an FO and a chili dog. Those are two of my favorite things at the varsity. The frosted orange is pretty tasty. And of course, I don't think you'd live super long if you ate there every day, but it's pretty good. But where were some of the other places that you traveled?
Oh, golly. Let's see. Well, while we're in Georgia, we also did the Guidestones, which got blown up more recently. The Georgia Guidestones,
Yeah.
because we live in a crazy time. So somebody just took it upon themselves to do that. Also, let's see some of the other places. We went down. We went all the way to the Keys, which is about as southern as you can get. Although down there it's really more like northern Cuba. The culture and the food and everything is more island-like than barbecue and sweet tea. Um, there were as many different ways to be southern as there is barbecue, and of course everybody says their barbecue is the best, but really I contend that the best barbecue in the world is the one that you're eating at that moment. So it was a book that was exploring my home, our home, the South, the Deep South, and there were there was a time in South Louisiana in Breaux Bridge. Kristi got some great video footage of this really large alligator. I'd gotten really as close as I could get to the water because I want to get, I'm painting a location, and that in fact that painting was cypress trees with water, a lake, and I look up, and there's this, I don't know, a really large alligator killing and eating in front of us another alligator.
Oh, wow.
And he had it in his mouth, and alligators don't chew, so he was beating it against the base of a cypress tree rather violently to tear it into pieces to swallow. There are many, many things like that. I mean, every picture tells a story. Oh, that's the one right there to the left, the
Yeah.
cypress tree. That was, there. It's South Louisiana. If you want to get away from the IRS or something, that might be the area you want to go. You're kind of unto yourself in a completely different culture, but all these places have their flavors to them. And we were in a little further south in Louisiana, and this looks familiar, And then the guy comes up and tells us it's the house in Easy Rider, and he knew Peter Fonda and all those people and stuff like that. Uh, it's the next one, the next one. Now that one was to the left. That is the Beatenhorn Museum, the Coca-Cola family in Louisiana. And that right there, where's that? Do you remember that?
In Monroe.
Monroe. Yes, sorry. And I like to come up with titles, and this one just titled itself. It's Fountain Coke, because it was the fountain, and it was the Coca-Cola Museum. And Herbie K's. Herbie K's is a place. It's kind of a hangout that everybody knows. Am I getting that right?
Like CS's.
I'm referring to my wife on this. It's like CS's.
Okay.
It's Monroe's version of CS, to put it in terms we can all understand. There were a lot of things along the way. I did about 200 paintings, but we reduced them down, edited down to 133.
This is a little bit of a, I mean, because you're known you're a Mississippi treasure. When people always say that, oh, you're a Mississippi treasure, I always think of the Rodney Dangerfield joke. It's like my mom said, oh, he's a treasure. My dad said, let's bury him. But
as long as I'm not buried.
Exactly. But you have been, I mean, your work, it has been fantastic. You've been in several books. You and Robert have worked on several books. But this is really one of the first times I've seen you break outside of the state and to this level. A, what made you decide to come out with your own book? And B, I mean, obviously it's always good to have a book to sell, but to hit it on this level of a scope. I mean, like I said, you cover everything from the swamps to the Appalachians. I mean, you were up in East Tennessee and some of my old stomping grounds too.
Well, what, this had been in my craw for a long time. In my younger years, I had 10 Volkswagen vans, not all at one time, but one after the other. I would trade one and get another one, and I would sleep in the back, and it would afford me a place to stay that I could afford because it was free, and you could camp out in IHOP, Waffle House parking lots, and get up the next day, have breakfast, and get on the road and paint. I did that in Mississippi for a while, and I really got this thing about traveling and figuring out the South. That's really what I wanted to do. Since that long ago, and that's probably been 30 years ago, that all that was going on. And my father taught Mississippi history, and he was a particular student of Southern history and culture. So, like our vacations in the summer, instead of going to Six Flags or something, we would go to a mansion or a battlefield or an Indian mound or something, and I would roll my eyes, and that would be our vacation. However, as I got older, these traveling places in the South kind of pulled me back, and I started rolling my eyes less and recognizing these things. Oh, there's the Peabody.
Yeah.
That was the Peabody. That was we couldn't secure a permit to work inside there, so I painted it from outside, and I think that was called Peabody's. The Peabody's Improv, which you may remember.
Yeah.
Cartoon. Anyway, so all that began back then, and before I'd spent, I guess, about a year in Italy altogether, and I really enjoyed the broadening of the experience. Rob and I had a great time. We took a lot of great people.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. But you know, every time I would go, I would come back. I would kind of get homesick, you know. And
Well, you talk about that, and like I said outside of Mississippi. I forgot Italy, obviously, and Italy was a really therapeutic time for you too. You those first few trips that you took over there with him, and that was very good for you because you're going through some tough times in your life. And I mean, art has always been a big part of your life and a big part of that. Tell us a little bit about the therapeutic part of you being able to go out and see new places and to be able to capture them on paper like this.
I've never been to Savannah, and Savannah's a very southern place.
Oh yes.
But it's a different flavor of southern. I mean, all these things. It's kind of a trifold book. It's like exploring southernness, exploring painting,
Yeah.
and just figuring out home. Trying to figure out what it is. You can't go home again. You know, you can't really dip your toe in the same water on a river. It's always changing, and really that was what I really was trying to explore. And I didn't find out new things so much as figure these things that I knew a little bit better. I figure these things that I already knew. I figured them out a little bit better. And one of the things I figured out is people are pretty much the same all over. And watch out for alligators, and iguanas aren't going to eat you. My wife she's from Slidell, and you know they would have alligators in their yard frequently, like a stray dog. Oh, your alligator's out, and so we were going through the Everglades, and she was taking photos of an alligator, big, you know, 8, 9 foot alligator, across the road from her, 10 feet away. I said, get in the car. I didn't quite put it like that. Get in the car, and then we go down to the glades, and she was scared of these iguanas, which are everywhere, and all they're doing is eating bugs and grass. I mean, but those kind of things flavor the trip for me. They're diaries of along the way of the trip, and I keep this journal pretty much every day or every other day, and so we took some of the writings and edited those down to 21 essays in the book. That's and that's Blackberry Farms. Really nice. I remember doing that painting. They took us around, showing us. It's a very exclusive kind of place to stay, and um, they took us around and they showed us these sheep, and there were donkeys in there with the sheep. And I said, "What? That's just really a strange combination." I said, "Oh, no, no, no! Those keep the wolves away.
Yeah.
Donkeys go crazy with wolves. They just love tearing up wolves." Didn't know that until the trip. See,
Yeah,
you
they're good about coyotes also. Yeah, I've a friend of mine has a couple donkeys just for that reason. Blackberry Farms it's real close to where my parents are from, and my cousin knows the owners, and I think has done some PR work for them and so forth. And I've been trying to somehow wiggle in a trip there somehow, maybe because I know somebody, but I haven't pulled it off yet. But it is amazing right out there near Townsend. It's just such a pretty part of the world.
a beautiful part of the country. You know, we're comparatively, and really, it was uh, it was great to wake up in the morning and see these mountains in this fog. It looked like you were in a foggy Caribbean with all these islands everywhere.
Yeah.
And I love that. There were two places I think that really impressed me the most, and that was that area, the mountains, and the Keys, which are completely different.
Yeah.
I felt like Jimmy down there. Oh, that's to the left. That's a big wheel. Keep on turning.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one to the left. I remember we went there, and it's a working watermill, and the guy who runs it has a PhD or something in water power. And somewhere else.
Hey Wyatt, you're in a bad cell right this second, so I'll talk for just a couple seconds. Yeah. Yeah, you're cutting in and out. So
okay, she's making a technical adjustment here.
yeah, no, I mean this is a bold experiment that we're trying, but like I said, the visuals are still there a little bit. And one of the things that, you know, and on a personal level, I love trying to draw water with pen and ink, and I love painting it, and I love how you handle it with water. You've always been amazing with handling light with your watercolors and value. But I mean, your job doing the rapids and doing the moving rushing water, which, you know, you don't get a lot of practice around here. I guess you can go over toward Meridian on the Chunky River and find some of that, but it's a little hard. You know, the Pearl doesn't exactly give you rapids. We'll put it that way. And if it does, then there's usually a flood. Oh, all right. So we've lost Wyatt for a second. Wyatt, when I can hear you, I'm just going to scroll through a few more obviously don't want to give away the whole book, but just going to show a few more until I can hear from you. If not, we'll cut the interview short here in just a second. Up, we lost him. All right. Well, Wyatt's on the road, and like I said, I appreciate him joining us today. And we will get back in touch. The brand new book's coming out. I think it's going to debut here in a couple days. And we'll go back up to the screen title here so that you can see a little bit more about it. And let's see here real quick. Like I said, Wyatt Waters got a brand new book, The Watercolor Road, Painting and Writing Through the American South. The new book's coming out. It looks really good. Look for it in all local bookstores. And so until next time, we appreciate it. And of course, this is Mississippi Stories, and we'll touch back base with Wyatt later just to make sure he's okay. But like I said, when you're traveling along Mississippi roads, you know how cell phone towers can be a little bit crazy. But I just wanted to give y'all a sample of it a little bit, and we will come back next week with another great episode of Mississippi Stories. And I do appreciate Wyatt out. About to say, I'll get Wyatt's email address here. I mean, his website here real quick for you, just so that you can find out more information on it. So we'll share the screen. Let's see. Wyatt Waters. It's probably Wyatt Waters. And the book is, of course, available at all great bookstores, of course, online, and of course, local bookstores around Mississippi as well. Let's see. Just check this email. Just make sure I get this right. So you can go to WyattWaters.com and find out a little bit more about the information about the book. And like I said, the book is called The Watercolor Road. It's fantastic. All right. Thank you. And we will come back next week. And thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for watching this episode of Mississippi Stories. Make sure to subscribe to the Mississippi Today YouTube channel and click the bell to be notified every time a new video uploads.